A local area emergency has been issued for Seattle, Renton, Kirkland and Mercer Island. The following message is transmitted at the request of the King County Department of Health and Human Services. In the past 4 days about 20 people have died after an unidentified creature consumed their internal organs. Autopsies have been inconclusive so far, and it is also unknown as to how this creature invades a host. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has launched an investigation into this mysterious event. You are advised to keep on the lookout for suspicious activity. If you have any information on this incident, please call the CDC or the King County Department of Health and Human Services. This concludes operations under the emergency alert system. Stations may resume normal programming. A civil emergency message has been issued for King County, Washington. The following message is transmitted at the request of the King County Department of Health and Human Services in conjunction with the Washington Emergency Management Agency. Another 50 people have died after their organs have been consumed by a mysterious creature. Medical examiners conclude that this was the work of a parasitic organism. While it is known that the parasite inhabits the stomach, it is not known how a person can become infected. Scientists believe that the infection is either foodborne or waterborne. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has begun water testing of major bodies of water in King County. You are advised to boil water before using it, and fully cook all foods to avoid possible infection. New information will be given as soon as it is available. A contagious disease warning has been issued for King County, Washington. The following message is transmitted at the request of the Washington Emergency Management Agency and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. The number of parasitic infections has risen at an exponential rate. Doctors have discovered that the organ-eating parasite infects the host via osmosis and gestates in the stomach. During gestation, the parasite will cause the host to fall asleep. Once the host wakes up, they do not realize that they were infected. The parasite lines itself with the host's gastric lining and consume all internal organs in the abdomen. Once the process is completed, the parasite explodes from the host and reproduces. All known infected people have been quarantined to prevent the spread of infection. Everyone is urged to not stay in a single location alone. That is when the parasite strikes. Please stay tuned for updates on this deadly situation. This message will repeat. A shelter-in-place warning has been issued for King County and Pierce County, Washington. The following message is transmitted at the request of the SCP Foundation. The parasite that has affected King County and now Pierce County has been identified as SCP-751. This parasite infects the abdomen of the host via osmosis, from their gestates in the stomach, and it will eat all internal organs. Once it completes this process, SCP-751 explodes out of the host, killing the person and reproducing. Due to the rapid spread of infection, the SCP Foundation has quarantined King and Pierce counties. The Army will be enforcing the quarantine. Do not attempt to cross a quarantine line as you will be met with lethal force. You are advised to avoid all infected people. Seal cracks in doors and windows with duct tape or damp towels. See loft heating and ventilation systems. Do not remain in an area alone. SCP-751 will infect you. Remain calm and obey all instructions given by the proper authorities. A civil danger warning has been issued for Kitsap County, Washington. The following message is transmitted at the request of the SCP Foundation. Mass infection of SCP-751 has taken place in the cities of Port Orchard, Bremerton, Bainbridge Island and Poulsbo. Smaller outbreaks have taken place in Bethel, Manchester, Parkwood, Hanceville and the Port Gamble tribal community. The Army has sealed off the infected areas in an effort to contain the infection. All people are to remain indoors until an all clear is given by the SCP Foundation. Martial law has been put into place effective immediately. All crimes will result in arrest and detention without formal charges. This emergency is no excuse for criminal activity. Bodies of the dead will be turned over to specially equipped units of the National Guard. Do not attempt to hide anybody infected, or people who have died from the infection. Doing so will result in immediate execution. No exceptions. All normal programming will be suspended for the duration of this emergency. This message will repeat. A civil danger warning has been issued for Washington State. The following message is transmitted at the request of the Washington National Guard and the Washington State Police. Mass rioting is taking place in response to the quarantine of King County, Pierce County and Kitsap County. Rioters are demanding that the quarantine should be lifted. Forest fires have been started by rioters and violent mobs have stormed government buildings across the state. You are to remain indoors until further notice. Do not join in the riots as you might be killed or arrested. Stay away from windows, and do not attract attention to your location. Remain calm and obey all instructions given by authorities. The counties affected by the parasitic outbreak will remain quarantined until the infection is stopped. Stay tuned for further information on this crisis. A civil emergency message has been issued for Inyo County, California. The following message is transmitted at the request of the California State Police. Riots are taking place in all areas of Inyo County. Militia groups have incited violence in response to the quarantine in Washington State. Militia groups are slaughtering police and government officials. The National Guard, the Department of Homeland Security and the Federal Bureau of Investigation have been sent into the troubled areas to restore order. A suspect has been identified in starting the violence in Washington and California. The name of the suspect is Bradley Henderson. Bradley Henderson is a 36-year-old white male, is 5 feet 2 inches tall, is bald, has green eyes, and is covered in swastika tattoos. He has been involved with sovereign citizen politics, militia-based terrorist attacks and neo-Nazi politics. If you have information of Bradley Henderson, call the Department of Homeland Security or the Federal Bureau of Investigation immediately. Any information given is confidential. Remain indoors at this time, stay away from windows and remain calm. This message will repeat. The emergency alert system has been activated. An administrative message has been issued for the state of California. The following message is transmitted at the request of the Federal Communications Commission and the Department of Homeland Security. This is an update to the current situation involving the civil unrest in Inyo County. Militia member and terrorist Bradley Henderson has claimed responsibility for inciting the violence. Bradley Henderson has ordered militia groups to sabotage communication networks in an attempt to bring down the government and stop the quarantine in Washington state. Be advised that multiple communication networks have been compromised, and now messages of rebellion against the government and the SCP Foundation are being aired. In addition, there have been hacks of the emergency alert system. In the event that the EAS is compromised in your area, switch to local news sources for information. This is a message from the President of the new Confederate States of America, Bradley Henderson. The United States will be brought to its knees and the new Confederate States of America will rise. We will liberate Washington state from the communist government agents enforcing the quarantine. The SCP Foundation will be destroyed. The parasite that is being talked about is a mere myth perpetrated by the New World Order. The SCP Foundation is ran by the Clinton Foundation to depopulate the earth. Hail the new Confederate States of America. This is a law enforcement warning for King County, Pierce County and Kitsap County. The following message is transmitted at the request of the Washington National Guard, the Washington State Police and the SCP Foundation. Militia groups are launching terrorist attacks against the military and SCP Foundation. There has been a possible containment breach in Kitsap County. There is now a major risk of SCP-751 spreading to the rest of the state. The Department of Homeland Security has concluded the Bradley Henderson and the new Confederate States of America are behind this wave of attacks. The current location of Bradley Henderson is unknown, but he was last seen exiting Pierce County in a military Humvee and heading southeast at 50 miles per hour. If you have any information on Bradley Henderson's location, contact the Department of Homeland Security immediately. This message will repeat. A civil emergency message has been issued for Columbia County, Clatsop County and Washington County, Oregon. The following message is transmitted at the request of the SCP Foundation and the Department of Defense. Terrorist and militia leader Bradley Henderson has stolen samples of SCP-751 and intends on releasing them in the warned areas. Police and military forces are tracking down Bradley Henderson and are attempting to stop him from releasing SCP-751 into the area. You are to remain indoors until further notice. If you see Bradley Henderson, do not attempt to apprehend him, and call 911 immediately. He is considered armed and extremely dangerous. It is possible that he has associates helping him in his attacks. Riots are continuing across the Pacific Northwest. Close and secure all entrances to your home. Do not let anybody into your home. Report all possible infections to the SCP Foundation. This message will repeat.
My fellow Americans, I am President Warren Xavier. This afternoon, I met with experts from FEMA, the CDC, the Department of Homeland Security, the Department of Defense, and the SCP Foundation. We have discussed plans on how to stop the spread of SCP-751. Sorry everyone. After very careful consideration, prayer, and discussion, it has been deemed that King County, Pierce County, and Kitsap County, Washington will be sterilized with nuclear weapons. This was a heart-aching choice as I grew up in Washington State and vowed to lead this country on the right path. Now we must say goodbye to many American citizens and cities. We will be turning them over to God. I pray that the people of the United States forgive this choice. I realize that many of you will not, and I do not blame you. Once the nuclear strikes conclude, I will be resigning from the presidency. Again, I say that I am sorry. May God have mercy on our souls.
This is a civil danger warning for all of Washington State and Oregon. The following message is transmitted at the request of the United States Department of Defense. Due to the threat of SCP-751 spreading nationwide, the President has authorized the nuclear destruction of King County, Pierce County and Kitsap County. The nuclear strike will take place in the next 4 hours. All people in Washington State and Oregon must seek refuge in a fallout shelter. Nuclear fallout will spread across the Pacific Northwest. Fallout is deadly and causes radiation sickness. Radiation sickness leads to death within several days. Place as much space between you and the outside world as possible. Seal cracks in doors and windows with duct tape or damp towels. Do not leave your shelter for 14 days or until an all clear is given. Repeat. A nuclear strike will take place in the next 4 hours. All people in Washington State and Oregon must seek refuge in a fallout shelter. Nuclear fallout will spread across the Pacific Northwest. Fallout is deadly and causes radiation sickness. Radiation sickness leads to death within several days. Place as much space between you and the outside world as possible. Seal cracks in doors and windows with duct tape or damp towels. Do not leave your shelter for 14 days or until an all clear is given. This message will repeat. This is an administrative message for Washington State, Oregon and California. The following message is transmitted at the request of the Federal Emergency Management Agency, the SCP Foundation and the Department of Defense. Bradley Henderson, the terrorist who incited riots and terrorist attacks, has been killed in a shootout with police. The samples of SCP-751 have been secured and have been sent to the SCP Foundation for disposal. Radiation levels from the nuclear strikes has fallen below dangerous levels. It is now safe to leave your shelters. This concludes operations under the emergency alert system. Stations may resume normal programming.